Hello, everyone. It's a good weekend today, and welcome to those who are watching me and joining me on the live stream right now. You're watching a new episode from Frame 360 Media today. I have a very special guest and awesome friend that I've met on a YouTube video content creation community. And I'm going to give her time to introduce herself. By the way, if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you would have videos like this in the future. So, my name is Robert. I do a lot of video content that would help you or help the small business owners to grow their brands using videos. And I do insights, YouTube tips and tricks, tutorials, and a lot of fun stuff about the video and content creation. So I'm gonna be having Tiffany Bird Harrison today. So it's tonight from her timeline. So she's an actor and a content creator who helps creatives be spiritually accountable. Amazing. She's doing a lot of amazing stuff. So her journey with Crisis brought her to the arts, where she is an all-around performer. She recently transitioned from an onstage work in musicals and plays to film work, where Tiffany's day-to-day consists of auditioning, video editing for clients, leading small group Bible studies, and writing scripts for her channel. She's married to her husband, Joseph Harrison, who is also a voice-over actor and a music producer. So let's welcome on the stream Miss Tiffany. Oh, she doesn't want to be called Miss, just Tiffany. Here is Tiffany.
Oh,
Welcome.
goodness, I love it. No, thank you so much, Robert. I'm so happy to be here, whether I'm Miss Tiffany or Tiffany Bird Harrison. And I do videos all about spiritual accountability and marrying them to the performing arts. So just like Robert said, I am an actor by trade, and I love teaching about biblical concepts and spiritual growth principles using theater and using film and using the arts. And so that's really what my heart is all about. And I have, oh my goodness, I found such a wonderful community on YouTube to do that with, just because I'm a complete dork when it comes to acting and film and the editing that comes in with it. So that's really what my heart is all about. It's about bringing people into intentional community using the arts to do it. So if you're into the performing arts, I am your gal. I'm here to help. And I'm so grateful, Robert, that I'm on with you. This is really awesome. I'm really excited.
Yeah, Tiffany, thank you for joining me. And you were having a short chat in the background a while ago. And yeah, we're just in this stuff because this is what we love to do, right? And it's all about the value that we can add to the people who's watching us. No matter if they're just a few of them or there's many of them, but it's a matter of taking that position, to start conversations in topic that resonates with us. So yeah, you mentioned you were doing a lot of acting before you jump onto YouTube. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually went to school for acting. So I went to a theater school in Virginia called Virginia Commonwealth University. And it was set up like a program that almost is like a conservatory. So if you've ever been to a program for mechanics or any type of trade school, think of that, but with actors, with dancers, with musicians. So I went to school. The trade was acting. And so all of my classes were centered around how to breathe, how to project your voice, how to speak clearly, how to get your voice to the back of the theater, because that's really what it's all about. It's about being able to be seen from way, way far, whether you're in an opera house or on Broadway or even a proscenium stage outside. And so I did a lot of acting. I did a lot of acting for many years. Once I graduated school, I went to actually what they call the Biblical Broadway. It's a theater called Sight and Sound Theaters in Pennsylvania, and they basically put Bible stories in a very large scale form on a stage that's about 4 times the size of a Broadway stage. So just imagine real life um, animals, camels, sheep on stage depicting the biblical times. And I did a show about Moses, the story of Moses. I was playing multiple characters, including Zipporah, Moses' wife. And it was an amazing job. It was a job out of school. So to get an acting job out of school is it's not normal. It's not usual. It's very much like a 1 in a million chance. So I really felt like that was a blessing from God to be able to work in the field that I'd gone to school for. So I did that for about a year and a half, and then I moved around and did plays and musicals mostly all over the East Coast in the States. So I was in Philadelphia, I was in New York for a time, I was in Delaware, I was in Virginia, of course, and just kind of riding up and down the coast doing different musicals and plays.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Like
Yeah,
you, you you got me on the like animals.
yeah, yeah.
Our
I literally rode a camel, which I never thought I would be doing for an acting job. I did. I rode a camel on stage. It was a pretty, that's like very large scale spectacle theater. That's not
yeah.
normal in the States or anything, but yeah, it was definitely
But
a lifetime.
it's not a real camel, right? Or
No, it was a real camel.
oh
And
really?
isn't that crazy? It was a real camp. And what's funny is this. So there, that theater is known. If you guys ever want to look it up, it's called Sight and Sound Theaters. It is known for these large scale. So, for example, they did Jonah, and they did the story, the Bible story, essentially of the prophet Jonah going, running from his calling, running from God, and he gets swallowed by a whale because of his disobedience to God. And the whale was not real, of course, but this whale was massive. I mean, it was the whole stage. They made an entire, like the actor got swallowed up by this whale. So just to give you an idea, it is large scale, but it was a ton of fun, a ton of fun.
Actually, it's the first time that I mean I've watched a bit of like musicals and plays in Singapore, and they have like this awesome place in Malaysia. I mean,
Mm.
once upon a time when we can still travel. So we I got the chance to watch this play, but no real camels involved. So I'm still trying to figure out like how on earth are you gonna ask the camel to behave
You don't, and
on
that's what we
stage?
learned. That's what we learned. I mean, that's one thing about theater that I've always loved, Robert, is that it's unpredictable, right? You are doing a show live for people. Things are going to go wrong. Wardrobes are going to be missing. Props are going to be missing. So, your question is valid. We had sheeps, for example. Sheeps. That's not the right word. It's sheep. We had sheep on stage, and sheep are not told what to do. It's kind of interesting because they would use the bathroom on stage, they would wander off to somewhere else. So you just do your best to work with the animals as much as you can, and you kind of let them live. So we had animal handlers nearby to kind of help in case anything were to go wrong, but the animals were never in danger. There was always someone as a caretaker on stage to make sure that they were safe.
Yeah, I bet because I mean in a place like America, I've seen a lot of news. It's like that can be big deal. It's like
Right. Right. Animal abuse,
yeah, something as innocent as tapping a I don't know a lion on the neck would be something that can be transformed into a big deal, like big conversation. Anyway, going back on your YouTube journey, I'm interested to pick your brain.
Okay.
uh, because your space, I mean, the space that you have chosen, I mean, I'm a Christian myself, but I'm not in that space, like, directly using my platform to really influence creativity. But
Mhm.
because I have my own, what they call this, my own brand, and it's part, of my, like, what do you call this role to survive.
Right.
Sorry, to get clients and then to do projects. But on your space, when you jump on YouTube, do you have that set in your mind that I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna speak the word through my content? I'm
Mm.
gonna inspire them based on this belief that I have, or was it something like a transition, or what? Do you jump in with a ready mindset to just do this, right?
That's such a good question. I think part of it for me, so no, to answer your question, I did not start out thinking I'm going to teach my beliefs or teach biblical beliefs through my content. What initially happened is I was not like most people with YouTube. I think a lot of people think about YouTube and they're like, I want to do a video or I want to
Mm.
start a channel. And that is their heart. They're already thinking that way. I was not thinking about starting a channel at all. I actually just wanted to teach something about my first video, I think was called How to Read the Bible, right? How to Read the Bible to Apply. And it was not meant to be a like sermon or any type of, it really was just me thinking, oh, there's some people who have questions about this that I've talked to that don't really know like where to start or, how to read a book that's that big. And so I was like, let me just make a video about that. And my plan was actually to post it on Facebook and be done with it. Like I wasn't going to do any more videos. It was just, that was the plan. As I started to go, like you said, through a transition in my own life, we had a plan to move. So we were moving states, me and my husband, and we decided that we wanted to move for the arts. We wanted to move for community. We lived near Washington, D.C., so we were very close to politics and the government and everything federal. And we were like, this is not, it's a great place to live, but it's not a great place to encourage creativity. So we actually made the decision, prayed about it for many months, asked people for help in terms of transitioning to move states because we wanted to get somewhere closer to something artistic. And so as all that's happening in the background, I was like, I want to make this video, before I go to help some people that I know have this question. And in doing that, it's so fascinating. In doing that, all of a sudden it kind of emerged. You know how you take one step and then another step kind of follows after? That was essentially what happened. So I took the step of making a video before I ever thought about channel or content or anything. And then naturally I was like, well, maybe I should make a channel to house all of the portfolio, the stuff that I think about, the things that I want to teach. And so that was really how it started. It started out of a very innocent desire to help and then kind of quickly evolved into, oh, I'm going to do a channel about the arts. And that's really where I began. So I never set out thinking, I'm going to teach people this thing. I usually set out saying, I'm going to help people with this concept that was hard for me to grasp or this thing that I see people struggling with. And it always comes out. Spiritual accountability and spiritual growth principles always come out because that's what my life is about. That's where I'm at right now as I'm growing in my faith, but also as a woman and as a young person. And so that's what the videos end up being about. They end up being about like my growth journey, and hopefully someone can relate to it.
But yeah, that's very interesting. But wanted to check with you. Are there? I mean, we have to accept the fact that there is this like reality on social media that
Mm,
there are specific conversation topics that people would not really be excited about. Like,
right.
did you ever have that, what do you call this, moment in your life that you felt discouraged? It's
Mm,
like, when you look at the numbers. I mean, for me, I stopped looking at my analytics because although tech media keeps telling us to
right.
watch our analytics, but it has this a bit of an effect that, like, when you're starting, when you're small, like,
Mm.
am I really getting all the numbers that I want with the effort? But on your end, have you ever got that moment where you felt discouraged, like, should I just change to like a mainstream topic, or I
Ooh.
really want to do this, like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I feel like every video that I release, I'm like, maybe I should just switch completely and go into Instagram hacks or something that's, like something I don't know anything about. Yes, and to be honest, Robert, there's a lot of times, especially starting out in the beginning, because again, I wasn't thinking about the channel. You know how they always talk about start with the end in mind. I wasn't thinking that way. I started with one video. I was just thinking this one video is going to be done. And then once that one video got done, it was daunting for me to think, oh, there's more videos that could possibly come. So I struggle, and where I get discouraged when I'm really coming up with topics and I'm thinking about them is not so much, oh, are people going to like this, but it's more, I wish people knew how important this was, not only to me, but like for life, right? I think a lot of the topics that I deal with are things that people are dealing with in their own lives. I don't want them to feel like just because it's religious or Christian or spiritual in a way that it's less important than something more tangible, like how to upload your first video or how to hack the Instagram algorithm so you can get more followers. Like, I want them to see this just as important. So I think that's where I struggle is I get discouraged because I realize that some people are kind of like, okay, but spiritual growth, who cares? They don't see it. They don't see it as important, but I believe that we have mind, body, and spirit, and they're all equally important. They all equally can get sick or weakened if we don't build them. So just like your analytics, just like watching the numbers, I remember I did a series called How to Protect Your Spirit. And it was,
Mm-hmm.
I put my like everything in it, Robert, like all of the editing hacks I can find. Like I did as many graphics, I was really stepping up as far as like the ability in the video. And I remember the first video, it did okay. It broke the number that I was kind of thinking, but the second video, less views. The third video, less views. And I remember I had 5 videos in the series, and I was like, do I keep going with this topic or do I move on? Because it doesn't seem that anyone's really caring about what it is. And so I was really frustrated, and I kind of considered quitting and kind of going a different direction. I thought about maybe I'll do videos on cameras or videos on lighting or videos on live stream, something else. But then I thought about it and I was like, wait. If I stick with this, it may not take off right now, but maybe later. Maybe later this will pick up steam.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a delayed gratification. I have to think about the future versus like right now what I'm seeing.
Yes, that's really good, and I hope it strikes a chord with someone who's watching this right now or in the future. That's the thing about YouTube. you
Yeah.
do you do amazing stuff right now. It's gonna result to amazing stuff in the future, right? You do less amazing stuff right now. I mean, something can still happen, but as content creators, I believe my personal belief in that is that we are in the business of transformation.
Mm,
Whether you want to transform someone from being broke poor to a self-made entrepreneur, or you want to transform someone from a person who doesn't believe in anything, even themselves, and
mm,
then you give them someone or something to believe in. I mean, YouTube is a very powerful platform. I keep talking about this to my students because I teach video production. That
mm,
and once you jump in this space, it's like holding a power that you don't you cannot imagine what you can do with that. Once you learn to speak, once you learn to put stuff online. So in your experience, because I'm not sure if your plays, are they film or do they have like, are they DVD stuff or can
yeah.
they watch it online?
That's a really good question. No, so you're absolutely right. Most plays are not filmed. That's
Mm,
not a thing that happens. And that's because they're different mediums, right? Just like video
uh-huh.
production, that's film. Plays they're singular entities. You go to the theater to watch the show, and then that's the last time you'll ever see that show that way because it'll change
Mm,
the next time you come. And so as a medium, trying to transition that to online is a very difficult thing.
mm,
So now actors are in a place right now, especially actors who do live performance like acting or, like theater or Broadway. They're trying to find ways to do Zoom plays, which I'm going to be honest, my least favorite thing. I mean, it's awful because imagine film, but like so much more dramatic and not in a good way. Like it's very uncomfortable to watch because people are doing theater in a space where the camera can see them right here.
yeah.
So it's a very weird medium. So I'll be honest in that doing theater on film is not my favorite thing. It's not my favorite.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's also about the experience, right? It's not because watching it is one thing wherever you watch it, but it's also the experience, like I remember when I watched when Bob Dylan visited Singapore. I'm a fan of Bob Dylan and all. And my dad said that my name came from his name because he is Robert Zimmerman.
Oh, I love
So
that. I love that.
yeah, so when I watched his show, uh, they literally asked us to leave everything in a locker before
Oh,
entering, because Bob Dylan is strict that he doesn't want anyone to be filming while he's performing. So, and I realized, like, I mean, he's in that position because he want to express the art and people to experience that.
mm.
Because I mean, when you go to any concert right now, all you see are smartphones, like, which
Oh my
is
gosh, it's the worst, isn't it?
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
God.
yeah. So for me, if I'm gonna watch a concert, I would rather get the front row and just watch there, not pick up my phone. So I think it's the same with plays, right? It's about the experience that the people get when they approach what do you call this, a theater. How
Yeah.
no matter how big the theater is, but based on your experience, because I've done a bit of plays when I was in college, not serious, not serious stuff, but I mean, I have a background of what happens behind the scenes. But based on your experience, when you're preparing for an actual content, because play, because in a way it's also influencing something, right? When you are in a play,
Yes.
especially if it's a story based on the Bible, right? You want to influence people to dig deeper. The Bible is fun. It's not it is not all numbers and boring stuff, but you know based on your experience, the preparation to work on a play compared to preparing for a content, like those are two different spectrums, right? For a YouTube and a play.
Yeah.
What is your preference? Would you love to keep doing plays, or the
Mhm.
YouTube thing is something that's more enjoyable for you?
Wow. You just asked a really hard question. I didn't know. And the reason is because they are both hard work in very different ways. Um, Theater is hard work, and you, like you said, you know the background. So there's rehearsals. You
Yeah,
have tech crew that are running lights. You have directors that are calling out what you're supposed to be doing, and you have yourself that you're responsible for knowing your cues, knowing your lines, knowing when to come into a scene and when to leave, and all of those things. Very different responsibility than being your own video production company like we are in content creation, because that's what
yeah,
it's like, right? Like when you do, I don't want to sugarcoat it for anybody. I think sometimes we kind of glamorize YouTube and we're like, oh, all you're doing is putting up videos. You're not doing any, and it's like, there's so much work that goes into this. There's
yeah,
setting up the lights. There's, writing your outline or your script. There is editing. There's so much that goes into it. I would say, what do I prefer? I'm going to say I prefer YouTube. And the reason is because in acting, for actors, we are kind of the best part of a show or a movie, but we are the last on the totem pole when it comes to decision making. Like
yeah,
who we play, we don't get a say over.
yeah,
What we wear, we don't get a say over. When we enter a scene or leave a scene, we typically don't get a say over. That's the director, that's the assistant, that's the wardrobe. Everybody else is telling you what to do, and you take the words that they give you and you go. YouTube, it is you. Like, and you could do a YouTube with a bunch of people if you wanted to, but like it is just you guys.
yeah,
So I would say I prefer YouTube only because I get an opportunity to have a say in what I say, what I wear, what I talk about. In theater and film, you kind of have to be at the whim of whatever the director or the writer has said that you are. So
yeah.
yeah,
I
it's hard both ways.
I think you're on point on that, because you talk about creative control, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same for us. I mean, as an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
uh, it's the creative control. You can work for the rest of your life doing someone else's videos, and even if it's not something that you would love doing, you have to do it because you get paid on the clock, right?
Right.
Or do you jump into something that you have more creative control and really direct the message, bring the message where you want the message to go? If you feel down, you do it in a way that's not on brand. Like, when you work for a brand, it always has to be on. And
Right.
I mean, I don't have anything against that, but I think it lacks the authenticity most of the time. Not all the time, but if you have to be on brand most of the time, you would lose the authenticity, I think. And as content creators, that's something that I think that's something that should really inspire, young people, younger than us,
Yes.
because we don't know what YouTube is gonna like. I was talking to the video lady in another interview like this. We were talking about like, dude, there's gonna be like holograms in the future. You don't even know if you if you have physical computers, right? Like
Right.
what will algorithms look like? I mean, iMac release like a 64 gigabyte, you know, machine. It's in preparation of something, big that only they know.
Right.
And we,
Right.
as content creators, we would have to adapt. But let's talk about creativity, because we mentioned on we tap on that creative control. What is your, this would probably be an, yeah, drink your water, because it's probably another different questions for you. What's your, what do you call this, how do you gauge yourself in terms of creativity, because you're trying to influence people to tap into their creativity, right? Like for you, you know I believe we're not being too hard on ourselves, be putting like huge expectations on our shoulder, like, I'm gonna do a video today. Yeah, I'm expecting 2 million views tomorrow. Like, what? So what's your what's your gauge on your creativity when you say, after watching a video, oh yeah, I got that creative spot, this is
Mm-hmm.
okay to go, or you just do it and bring it out?
Ooh, that's a juicy question. Well, okay, so this is interesting because I feel like with YouTube, one thing that's been really powerful is that you don't have a lot of time to overthink, right? If you have a weekly schedule or you decide I'm going to release videos once a week, twice a week, you can decide you want to be creative and like when you feel it, right? When I
Yeah.
feel creative, that's when I'll do it. But you don't have time for that because you got to get a video out. So what I like is I've found that my creative spot and when things are really flowing is when I'm not trying so hard. Like if I'm not trying to be creative, it just is organically, it naturally comes. And I don't think that, I think that's a very unsatisfying answer for people who may say, well, I'm not artistic like you. I don't do
Mm.
theater, I don't do drawing. So I want to offer some encouragement for them too. Even if you're not, or you don't think you're creative in the normal way, how do you think outside the box when it comes to business problems? How do you
Yes.
think outside the box? So I think there's creativity that there's different levels to it. It's not just like throwing paint on a wall and making a masterpiece. Creativity can be in how you raise your children, right? Creativity can be how you stretch money. So I
Yep.
think we have to stop saying that creative is just for artistic people or visual artists, or it's not. Creativity for me encompasses, or when you say I'm addressing creatives, I'm talking to people who don't stay limited by just how they were taught to think or what they're supposed to think. It's like, okay, I know this is what you're supposed to think, but what do you think? Like, I think about the Bible story where Jesus says to, I believe it's Peter, and he says to him, they're saying, well, they're saying that you're this and you're that, you're a prophet, you're a good teacher. And he says, who do you say that I am? And Peter says, well, I say you're the Son of God. Like, and Jesus says, you are blessed among men because you didn't, nobody in human form revealed this to you. This was revealed to you by heaven. So I feel like as a creative, instead of letting ourselves be revealed as creatives because we're artistic, why don't we start saying, I am creative, and then be creative rather than wait for it to hit us like a lightning bolt. So I make content regardless if I feel creative. I don't let my feelings dictate it. I start moving in that direction and I'm going to make a video about a topic. And creativity starts to find itself as I start to put the video together. So that's how I approach it.
Wow. That's a soundbite for me. That's gonna be a future episode. I'm gonna cut that
I love
out. And I'm gonna get like another 500 watch hours just on what you
I hope
mentioned. That,
so. That would be
yeah,
awesome.
I just need to work on the VRA system for that, so that to make sure that
Right.
people would see that. And yes, all about creativity is, I think, I mean, I've had this conversation with my pastor
Mm,
before, that he asked me, I mean, not all pastors are, in a way, in our perspective as creative, we don't think many of them are
sure,
creative.
sure.
So this pastor asked me, like, is creativity, were people born with creativity, or is creativity that's something that you need to develop?
Mm,
And I was like amazed that I'm hearing that from a pastor, because uh creation, should be like one of the, like the top 10 lessons or doctrines that every pastors would know, right? And
right.
like, um I don't know if you have done any church volunteer work, but for me personally, that's the most challenging place to be creative, because
Mm,
especially if there's no art director or creative director who would tell you, like, because mostly if you're volunteering, you are working in a that's good enough space. I don't know
right.
if like, there are churches like that. It's like, this is a good enough space, and I think it's encouraging the a wrong culture, that you have the right heart, you have the right attitude. That's good enough. I
Mm,
think it's hurting the young creative more than it's helping them, uh in their creative journey. And your channel, I think, is plays a key role in that, because you talk a lot about that, having conversations with Christian creatives, creatives in faith, because it can be a very, yeah, the only word I can say is challenging to
yeah.
be in that space. You put a lot of effort, then someone would come back like, can you change the font, like, the font is not the font is not even, yeah, I mean, I can change the font for the right reason, for the right, for
Right.
the right space of conversation, not just because you don't like the font. But yeah, you're volunteering, you do that. But yeah, I mean, I move on from that space. And personally, in my faith journey, I thank God for, like, space, platform like YouTube and, social media, because you can talk about the real stuff, what really happens to you. For someone, it might be, discouraging or bad, but
Right.
some other people are experiencing that, the very fact that they can relate to that is already, a conversation, right?
Mm.
And you are in the business. Tiffany Bird Harrison is in the business of giving creatives, a reason to wake up and be excited,
Yeah.
and I like your point of view, your insight a while ago, where you said, how do you think about stuff outside the box? And have you had this, like, real life, based on what you're doing on YouTube, right? Have you done that in real, face, what do you call this scenario, where you talk to a creative, like, you have a heart to heart talk with them?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's kind of funny that you say that because I think one of the things that one of my good friends actually told me, she's a fellow YouTuber, and she said that it was early on in my journey, and I was like, I don't know how to make spiritual accountability cool. Like, how do you make spiritual growth relatable? And she was like, instead of doing spiritual accountability, you are spiritual accountability. Like, that's who you are. That's who Tiffany Bird Harrison is. So just be that and expect that when you do videos, regardless if you're talking about that topic or not, it will come out. It oozes out of your life because that's who you are.
Yep.
And I mean, it was definitely a moment that I was like, the Lord is speaking. I'm going to listen. But that's really it. So I think to answer your question, I definitely live this life in person. You can ask my husband, you can ask my friends. Like, when it comes to challenging conversations, when it comes to challenging your perspective about the world and culture, I'm really big on doing that with my friends. That's what my friendships are. It's about intimacy that's built on hard conversations, on real conversations, and on growth. And so my channel really is out of my life. I think it's a mistake for YouTubers or content creators or somebody who wants to be a content creator to make a channel out of something that they don't live. if you don't live it, it's hard to put that on every video, you know,
Yeah.
like that's not who you are. If you're not a comedian and you're just trying to
Yeah.
like make yourself funny, like it's not, you can tell, we us watching,
Mm.
how you're uncomfortable. Um, if you talk about honesty and transparency in life, but you don't live that in real life, it's hard to buy it. So I love the idea of living authentically and then that just being what comes out of my content because I don't have to try so hard. Going back to that concept about not overthinking it, I don't have to think so much about content. People are like, how do you come up with video ideas? A lot of it is stuff that I'm dealing with my own life. If I'm struggling with this topic or struggling with a political matter or struggling with a heart issue, that's what you're going to see come out of the content that I do. So I don't have to like pull it out of like a Michelangelo type loop where I'm like trying to find something and I'm like, what's my motivation?
Yeah.
Motivation is the life that I'm living and the struggles that I'm having in that life. And so I'm hoping that people benefit from my own mistakes, you know, and my own issues.
Yeah, that's I be I 100% agree with that. And you're right. You cannot. I think I have an episode or a blog. I forgot, but I touch on that topic where I'm talking about for entrepreneurs you cannot force an image that
Yeah,
you are not.
yeah,
Like I don't know if you have seen this, but like there's this like video ads. You would see obviously he's a 25, 24-year-old dude, and he's talking about, hey, I've earned like my first $25 million in a
yeah,
week when I jumped to it. Like, what? We have Jeff Bezos, we have Mark Zuckerberg, we have those guys. They started all of this, but I don't think 25 million in a month is something that you can do. And I mean, unless you're related to someone from Colombia. Just kidding.
right,
But
right.
I don't know. Yeah, it's about your advertising, your video content, your message, your blog, your social media posts. But I think you all would also agree that being authentic is always for the long game. It's
Yeah,
you don't have tons of audience for that, but
yeah,
rest assured you would have the right set of audience, because those are the choices that we have as content creators. It's either you get the number of audience and a lower number of the right audience. It's up to you, right? Who you prefer to. Because if you are in the business of transformation, you want to impact people's lives, even if they're just 10 of them, 20 of them, compared to talking to 500 who doesn't care, what you're
right.
talking about, and there's no impact to them. I would rather go to the 20 who would benefit from what I'm talking about. And going online, there's a lot of negativity, right?
Yeah,
And negativity is something that creatives are experiencing on a daily basis. If you're not even like big name creative people, they get that.
yeah.
What would be your advice to someone who's like really small,
Mhm.
starting off? How should they deal with all this negativity once they go online? Because I think all content creators are just one mean comment away.
One mean comment away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from from stopping what they're doing and pulling them out of their potential.
yeah.
So
I
this is your moment. Preach it, sister. what can you advise them?
Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm a big fan of boundaries. Boundaries and boundaries has a really negative reputation. It's got some bad PR because people hear boundaries and they think that you're talking about being guarded or being keeping people away, right? Keeping people out. But I believe that as a creative on YouTube or any other content creation platform, you need to be shielding yourself from all of the noise, right? There are so many voices and so many other creators that you're watching and Instagram feeds that you're looking at that if you're not careful, you'll be influenced in a way that is very negative and very damaging to your psyche. And so something, for example, that I do is I'm not a big, like, when it comes to social media, a lot of people play that game of comparing themselves, right? Like, oh, their stuff is so much better than mine. And, oh, look what she's wearing. Look where they went for vacation. And they spend a lot of time deciding and comparing themselves to somebody that they see on the internet, the perfect person or the perfect life that they're leading. But I have consciously made a decision that when I look at videos or pictures or whatever content is out of somebody else that's doing really well, I make a conscious decision in my mind to celebrate that person, like right then and there. And I have to do it on the spot because the boundary that I've set is I'm not going to be jealous. I'm not going to covet somebody else's platform. I'm not going to be self conscious based on what somebody else is doing. And the only way that you can do that, the only way you can combat it is not to say, I'm just not going to feel anything. You have to celebrate them every time you see them. So if you can't do that, if you're in a place, like let's say you're making content and you're pretty upset about seeing everybody else take off before you do, then quiet the noise. Stop following those accounts. Stop going on that person's channel. You know what I mean? Like, stop taking in all of that information that's making you feel terrible about yourself. When you can start to grow in your maturity and maybe even in your ability and confidence in yourself, then you can start to follow some people and say, I admire them. I admire what they're doing, or I see how good their content is. But you don't want to be, I don't want anybody to get in the mindset that they have to like take it all in. You know how they tell you in content creation, you got to take in content to understand what's working and the trends. I actually reject that, because if you're taking everybody else's information in, then what's making you create anything? So I don't buy into it. If you need to get in a closet by yourself for a little while with you and your trusted, people that you rely on to give you some confidence and encouragement, then do that and create your content in that bubble until you can start to expand and expand. But boundary setting is so important. And if you have negative people in your life that are saying, your content's not that good. I watched a video, I didn't like it. Whatever, whoever's in your corner, if they're negative, the comment section is always going to be there. But the people in your life, you can decide, you know what, I don't need to be close with this person right now while I focus on this. And then as you get more and more confidence, you can start to expand that circle. So I'm very specific about who I keep around me. I don't just rock with everybody right now. And it's not out of not having love for them, but if they're negative or if they're somebody who talks down about creating content, I've had people say things about like, oh, you're trying to do YouTube? Why? It's kind of like, you know what I mean? So and that's okay. They can have an opinion. I just want to talk to you while I'm creating because I need to focus.
Yes, that's good. That's a very good. That can be a good episode. Boundaries, right?
Yeah,
Like,
boundaries. Oh, yeah. That's what about doing. Maybe we'll talk about doing
you
an
should
episode
you should do that. Like, I'm gonna wait for that episode. The way I handle that is, uh, I mean, I wish I have the same tenacity as you to, like,
Oh,
block. Huh?
you get negative comments from people?
I A lot,
Really?
but for me, not just on YouTube. I mean, on a personal, I mean, rejection is something that's written all over me.
Mm,
It's just that, you know, God has His grace at work in every one of us, and that's how you operate. But as a creative person, what I do is, I accept criticisms, and negative comments from
mm,
people who know what they're doing.
mm.
Like, if there's like a good filmmaker who talked to me and gave me a criticism or a negative comment, no matter how bad it is, I respect that feedback because he's good at what he does.
Mm.
But but once I process it, I'm gonna just look over the work that I've done, and he said this, and I'm just gonna objectively use that, and he's right.
Mm.
But
That's good.
uh, for me, my the way I handle it is I become objective. That's it, because it would show up. You either become, some people would be too emotional with that, and you say, hey, you know I don't like your YouTube videos. Can you do this? And then you follow that advice,
Right.
out of nowhere. But that person hasn't even done any single YouTube video in his life, and
Right.
you made him destroy your journey on your 100th
Yeah.
video. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. So for me, I tend to be objective on that, and I accept negative and criticisms, negative comments from people who know what they're doing. If you're my audience, No. Yeah, thank you. Like what you said, right? I
Right.
mean, this is not for you. There are like 5 billion human beings, more than 5 billion human beings on this planet. If a million of them hates me right now, I think I'm still in good hands, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean that's how I see it. You would have haters. That's a reality now that we are more connected. I mean, you have to accept that people are in the business of hating just for the reason that they wanted to hate, not even for it's not even because of what you're doing. They just exist to hate. So you have to navigate your way around that. But in terms of creative growth,
Hmm.
what should be, if let's say I'm a young creative, what should be my journey? Should I start exploring my own creativity, or should I start, you know looking at other creative people to inspire me?
Mm.
Because I've had this conversation with a really young creative. I mean, he's very enthusiastic. I think he's a good sketch artist.
Okay.
But and I don't want to impose on him, because for me, my belief is, if it's something that you discover, it's more glorious, it's more amazing.
Yeah.
I am commending him on his sketch, but I'm not saying absolutely, you just have to go to sketching. Because me, I'm a musician. I did illustration before, and now I'm doing videos and doing business. And I put in a lot of creativity in all that space, right? So,
Right.
what would be your take in that creative journey? What should come first if I'm young? Should I start creating, or should I start finding inspiration?
I well, the first thing I'd say is nobody's creative journey is the same. I don't believe that there's any type of like prescription that you and I can give to anybody to say do it this way, because
Mm.
that doesn't make any sense for creatives at all. We don't follow any linear path. We're always just all over the place. But I would say, it's interesting. I don't think there's anything wrong with starting with inspiration and who you're inspired by and taking off from there. Because if we think about it, right, how we learn to be who we are is by mimicking our parents, right? We learned from our environment. If we had our parents in our home, we learned from them. If we didn't, we learned from whoever we were around. So I think this idea that like you need to be original it's kind of dying, right? Like people are like, oh, she stole that song, or they stole that theme, or they stole that title. Is anybody really stealing anything anymore? Like, is anything truly like new? The Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. Like
Yeah.
everything has been done. And if you thought you thought of it first, I promise you there are 20 other people who didn't do the idea, right? So
Yeah.
I'm actually very much open to the idea of young creatives deciding that they see somebody they love and like trying to find out what clicked for them. So that's what I would encourage young creative. Don't plagiarize, don't take their word. But if you see, okay, they get up every morning at 6 a.m. and sketch the sunrise, right? I'm an artist. I want to do that. Artist does that. You might not be able to do 6 in the morning, but why don't you try to adapt it for your schedule? Why don't you try to get up at 7:30 or 8 o'clock and say, every morning I'm going to draw the first thing that I see? So I think there's something to be said about taking from the work ethic and the essence of what someone's doing rather than taking their work. You can be inspired,
Yes.
kind of like Pinterest, right? Pinterest board, you take all your different pictures and
Yeah.
and you put them up there, and your house isn't going to look like that. But
Yeah.
what you can do is you say, you know what, I got a couple things in my garage that I can repurpose to look like this Pinterest board. And though I'm not going to get exactly that, I'm going to put my own spin on it. And I think that's way more creative than saying, I've got to sit here until I have an original idea in my head, or I'm going to see someone else's thing and there's an integrity. There's an integrity to creativity that I love. I actually have, like, for example, I have a YouTuber that I love besides you, of course. Um, and his name is Alan Parr. He's a teacher, he's an evangelist, and he's really good at answering specific questions. And his YouTube channel inspired me so much. I was like, I want to do what he's doing, but I'm not doing what he's doing because
Mhm.
Alan is not an actor and I didn't go to seminary, so we're not doing the same thing, but I take a lot of elements of his clarity, the way that he speaks directly to people's heart. I try to take that into my communication style and make it my own. And if I do take anything from you or from Alan or anybody else on YouTube, I will shout them out. I'm really big
Yeah.
on, hey, this is your work, and I just want you to know
Mm.
I admire it. I admire it. So, yeah, I would tell the young creative, definitely take inspiration, don't steal, but take it and spin it in your way and say, this is why this fits for me.
Yeah, and while you were talking about it, I remember this movie that I saw film on Netflix. I don't know if you have seen it yesterday. You
Hmm,
know, Netflix or iTunes. You know, yesterday.
I know, yes,
Uh,
movie. I had,
the Beatles movie about Beatles, but with a twist. You know, it's like
yeah,
this the storyteller pick up the Beatles idea, but it's it's not something that a lot of filmmakers haven't done before.
right,
But he made a twist. Like John Lennon is alive doing fishing somewhere in a because the Beatles didn't exist based on that story, right?
right, right.
And there's another film that's called Almost Heroes. It's a very 1980s film.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, the story is there's the in American history there are this set of people who are recognized. They discovered the Pacific Ocean, something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't know
But
that one. No, I
but
like,
there's this specific group of people, right? And the movie was talking about this other group of people who actually found it. But because they are a bunch of losers,
wow.
they were not. So it's a comedy film.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I love that.
so they were not the ones who were recognized
Hmm.
because they were just like going on a road trip, like a bunch of losers with no directions in life. But the lead actor has this passion that, hey, I heard there's this like huge ocean, let's like go and find it and make history. But because they don't know what to do, it's really fun. So yeah, it's about what has happened before or what was created before,
Hmm.
trying to add your voice. I think
Hmm.
that's the only formula, right? Add your voice and do it with integrity and not as if this is my idea.
Right,
Uh,
right.
um, I'm the king of this. And for me, as a content creator, I'm also careful in that aspect because
Hmm.
uh, you would notice that even there are projects that would require stock videography, for example.
Yeah,
And for me, it's difficult to execute something, but it's work. It's the corporate stuff. We always say it pays the bill, so just 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 do it. But uh, it's that having that thought that, hey, if I'm gonna use this style of video, probably the competitor bank or the competitor company has used this before. But it's about how I execute it, trying to find my own voice or the voice of the brand and putting it in that the output work. And but there has to be, I just thought of this now, there has to be a word for that. I mean, you're right, original should be should not be in the in the dictionary anymore. So there has to be, like a pseudo original, or I don't know. Someone has to come up with that word because it's 2020 with the internet, with social media. Even
yeah,
it can be. I mean, this won't probably happen, but right now there's probably two other content creators doing the same thing as we're doing, talking about the
exactly.
same talking about the same topic, right? And but
Right.
can we claim that we are original? No, because we're talking about our perspective, our insight, how we see things, right, and how we do things.
Yeah.
That's why it's for all my work. I always highlight the role of the human story
Hmm.
because that is your only opportunity to make it somehow unique, not original, but
Right.
unique. Because as Christians, we believe that each human beings, they are created in the image and likeness of the Creator, but they are unique, right? And how do you find that, right? Even for competing, let's say banks. If I'm doing banks, I've done projects for competing banks in Singapore.
Hmm.
But every time I sit down on a meeting for a pre-production meeting, it's always about, hey, what's your voice really, right? And
Right.
sometimes, I talk to people where they're like scratching their head. Like these people are getting are getting paid like 5 digits a month, and they're scratching their head. When you ask them, what do you really care about? Because
Right.
no one is asking them that. No, and that's sad. That's why as creatives like you and me, it's in every opportunity we do that, right? Like, what do you care about, right?
Yeah.
like I didn't randomly ask you to be a guest on this live stream just because we did some interaction on VRA, right, on social media, but because I've been watching your content and I know that you care about something. If you're just someone who's eating something on in front of the camera
Right.
on your 100 videos, what am I going to talk about? What is your creative process in choosing the food that you're gonna eat on your 150th video?
And
But that,
you said though, you said something really key that I think we should like make sure of, because I think I don't want to discourage people. Just because you're not original doesn't mean it's not necessary, right?
yeah,
CVS, Rite Aid, and Walgreens are all chains of stores. They're pharmacies in the U.S. and they all do the exact same thing, right? They
yeah,
have pharmaceuticals. They have a couple household items. They're on every corner, and they sometimes are on the corners across from each other. So Rite Aid will be here, CVS will be here, Walgreens will be there. They all make money, right? But they
yep,
do the same thing. So my other encouragement to people who are like, well, I can't be original, so I don't want to do it at all. Because that's what keeps some people from doing video or doing content,
hmm,
because they're like, somebody's already doing that better than me.
yeah,
First of all, no one's doing it like you. I promise you. No one is doing it like you. You guys could do the exact same topic. Me and Rob
yes,
could do the same exact video
uh,
and do it completely different.
yep,
So I'm never discouraged that somebody else is doing it. In fact, what I tend to do is if I see somebody else do something that I wanted to do, I'm actually more encouraged because I'm like, oh, there's a market for that, apparently,
yes,
because they did it already and people liked it. So if I do my own version, you see what I'm saying? So there's actually a really beautiful, once again, right inside those lines, those boundary lines, there's actually a really beautiful space and allowance for you to grow as a creative if you see what's already been marked out. You don't have to go find a new path. Look at the path that's already been marked out for you, use it as a stepping stone, and then get up there. Get on stage, get up there.
yeah. You're really good at that. You're like, I'm imagining like preacher like with the Bible, like, yes, if I can, I can like you know
You know what I'm kind of do? I'm kind of speaking sound bites that they tell us to do in school all the time.
which is amazing. I think that's gonna impact your YouTube, eventually, because
Oh, thanks.
that's the reality. Those who have good stuff to talk about, I mean, we can keep talking about it no matter if people are already watching it or not.
Right.
But it's about the source, the source of your sound bites, the
Yeah.
source of your insights.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the hard stuff, as if I didn't ask you any hard stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, I like your earrings, by the way. Like
Oh,
those,
thank you. They're for my mom. My mom got them for me, so I like try to wear them.
isn't it heavy? But
I know they look massive. Right? They're not. They're not.
yeah,
They're
okay, it's really nice. It blends in your background color.
actually, Robert, you're speaking to my heart right now. I did
Yeah,
all of this trying to impress you. So
it's really nice. I like it.
thank, thank you.
And that's why I'm gonna try to do something about all this. Yeah, I'm just have the books there because I'm pretending like I'm reading books. No, really, I'm actually reading those stuff, and I have the Thor hammer, the toy, the hammer Thor, and Iron Man, and of course my guitar and my
As long
keyboard
as
here.
you're reading them, I don't mind them being there. If you imagine you put them back there, like I don't read any of these.
Yeah, but I mean, I think in general, men are more inclined to have like busy stuff like this, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
true. I mean, I have a couple superhero things, but they're hiding right now
on the floor.
on the.
Yeah. Okay. So for creatives, right?
Yeah,
One thing that we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing, is we want something to happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. It's either you want people to notice you, or you want people to buy your stuff, or you want to, I mean, some creatives want to be famous for whatever reason, or, but creatives exist and they are waiting for something to happen,
Yeah.
because while they are creating, it's for a purpose that something has to happen. It can be tomorrow, next week, 10 years from now. But let's talk about the struggle of waiting,
Mm.
because I mean, in a secular conversation, not in the context of faith, they have what they say, luck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people would grow big in 10 videos, right?
Right.
Really good content, right? Really amazing, not the trash content that half of YouTube is is all about. They will make it big in 10 videos, and there are like those who are already 200 videos,
Yeah.
nothing's happening. What would be your not motherly, okay, sisterly, your sisterly advice to this creatives who's waiting for something to happen and nothing's
Oh,
happening yet?
yeah. Okay. Well, when you take the faith context out, that actually gets like it's a harder question, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're waiting in the faith context, you have a reason to wait. You know it produces perseverance and character in yourself.
And you're looking at something that's not visible. That's fate.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Not something that you can see. But when you take that out of it, let's just say just on the practical way, if
Mm,
you're somebody who's going at it and you're seeing no results, I am a big believer that you cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results, right? They call that insanity. They say if you keep doing the same thing and you're not seeing what you want and expecting something different, you need to change what you're doing.
yep.
So I am really, and this is something I'm working through even right now, like as we speak, I'm thinking about what does it look like to say enough is enough and I'm going to change course, right? If you're doing content creation and you're making videos in one topic or another, and you've been consistent, the same topic from one video to 200 videos, you've been doing the same thing and nothing is happening, that would have me evaluate what type of content I'm making, right? That's going back to the analytics. That's going to the more practical things. Are my thumbnails getting clicks? Are people watching my videos long enough? Are people interested in what I'm talking about? Okay, let's take all that out. Let's say you have amazing content and you've been doing the same topic and you've been really consistent and you're still not getting the views that you want. What circles are you in? Like,
Mm,
what is your current environment? Because to me, if it's not an internal issue, it's most certainly whoever's around you and or what you're in. I have seen people, and this is true, like I've seen people in life do better just by moving spaces. Like they move from one state to the next state and boom, they found favor. They move from one job to the next job and boom, all of a sudden they're doing really well. Where they couldn't get attention before, they've moved into a different career and wow, now they're taking off. Why is that? Is it because it's the same person,
mhm.
same, ideals, but they changed position, they changed location. So I believe that if you're in a place where you're feeling stuck and feeling stuck and feeling stuck, change your posture,
Yeah.
change your position, change your environment. Something has to change. And it's either, I heard a Christian rapper, his name's Andy Mineo, he said, there's either the pain of changing or the pain of staying the same.
Mm,
You're either going to stay the same and be frustrated with the videos and the content, it's not taking off, or you're going to change. It's going to hurt either way,
yeah.
but but hurt is necessary. That pain is necessary for you to grow. Not the kind of pain that's abuse or that's somebody that's coming down on you, condemnation. Not that kind of pain. I'm talking about the kind of pain because you're stretching. So I
Yeah.
believe that like changing course is okay. We have come into a culture where people are like, you can't change your mind. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can change your mind. You can change. If you say, hey, this isn't working for me, this relationship that I'm in, it's not working. You can change course, not in marriage. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like you're in a boyfriend, girlfriend. Look, don't misunderstand. If you're married, you need to work through it. But if you're in a relationship that you're in, you're going, this isn't working. If you're in a business partnership, this isn't working.
Yeah.
change how you're doing things. So that's the advice I would give is I would say you need to change something. It might be your position, it might be your location, it might be the people you're around or your mindset, but something has to change.
Amazing. I can just like watch you talk for like 8 hours, and be a better person on the ninth hour. Actually, a couple of nights ago, I was bored. I mean, it's
Mhm.
easy to get bored when you're working from home. Although I've been working from home most of my life, but it's the reality that everyone else is working from home, and it makes it more boring now. So what I did was I went out, took a walk. I mean, I met with a potential client.
Okay.
I mean, that's the main purpose. But on my way home, I have this because it's in the city area. I have this usual way going to the metro because I don't drive in Singapore. It's like uber expensive to buy a car here.
Yeah.
You can search for the Vin Diesel interview when he was surprised that the sedan here cost like his Bentley in the US. But anyway,
Mhm.
what I did was instead of going that similar, route route, this is a straight road. I made a wild turn.
Mm.
I saw this street corner. It's dark. I mean, it's not well lit, so it means no one is walking there. It's like
Right.
back alley.
Mm.
Trash bins, like the one you see on any action films. Like
Yeah.
everyone they're chasing someone. They always run to that place instead of busy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's a cliche, but I went that way, and actually, it was like the 30 minutes of the most creative experience that I've had in 2020.
Wow.
Because I just had my smartphone. I took photos, and I mean, I can share that to you later. But
Yeah.
I think I've got amazing photos because those are unfamiliar places for me.
Mm.
And the combination of the dark alley and the street lamp, blinking street lamp, and the advertising on the wall,
Very
and
artistic.
it's almost late at night, so there's barely any human beings around. I mean, it's safe in Singapore. I mean, in general,
Right.
it's not like I'm walking into a Brooklyn, you know, Brooklyn street. But yeah, you're right. You change perspective. You
Yeah.
change. It's a matter of tweaking. I think that quote, if I'm not mistaken, is Albert Einstein, right? You
Yeah.
cannot
It's
you cannot
that
you
quote.
cannot expect doing the same thing and then expecting different results, right?
Yes.
Because that's insanity. So it's a very good advice, and I mean it's part of what I teach also in design, because I teach
Mm.
design, and I do a lot of stuff to buy my toys.
You're
But when I teach design, actually there was this class. What I did the first day of class, I brought them to this empty parking lot.
right. Mhm.
They just had their sketchbooks. It's a graphic design class. We went to an empty parking lot, and my first task for them is draw what you can see,
Mhm.
and it's an empty parking lot. So the exercise is about, I mean, more than half of the class got it right because it's about imagination. Actually, I brought them there. It's more of like an aspirational exercise, because I
Okay.
wanted to show them that your future as graphic designers is like this. It can be empty. It's something that you don't understand, but you draw your own future as designers. You can design your own future as students right now, because they
Yeah.
are like 16, 15, 16-year old students when I was teaching them.
Wow.
And it was really amazing looking at the drawings. Like there's this kid who drew like a dystopian uh buildings, like dark, strange, out of this world
Yeah.
building shapes. And you see that opportunity to find creative execution
Mm.
in unfamiliar space. I mean, if I would put that in a blog title or
Oh,
in a
wow.
single phrase,
Dramatic.
you
Very.
go to an unfamiliar place.
Yeah.
If you're brave enough, go to an uncomfortable space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that would require more bravery, but unfamiliar would be good enough for most people. and see what you can do, right? Because that will also reflect your the journey of your discovery, like what I did.
Mm,
Like, I mean, those are like just random street corners, walls. There's an old church. I found an old church with a
wow.
cross, and there's just like this old car in front of the church, and that looks amazing with just an iPhone camera.
Yeah.
So the creative journey is all about changing something once you're stuck, because I mean, practically you're stuck because you're in the same spot. I mean, that's the only explanation,
Right.
right?
Right. You've got to.
Because you're not moving, right? You have to move something. If I'm bored doing work here, I'm just probably gonna move my computer here. But having said that, I rearrange my workspace once in a while, because
Yes.
I want it to look different. Like, I'm gonna work on the other side of my office and like paint it like a turquoise by two lampshades with flower base. And what is that? God, what's the book? Is that a book?
No, it's a placard. It's so funny you said that. It's a placard.
Yeah,
God is, wait, what does it say? With God, all things are possible. I had to remember.
yeah.
With
The,
God, all things are possible. And actually, you said something that I love the fact that you're like, you had that exercise with your students. And I would say if you don't move, here's the caution of that. If you don't move and you just stay in the same place, there's actually no such thing as just staying stuck, right? Because circumstances will change with or without your participation.
yes.
So I have noticed that people who feel stuck and they're like, I'm just not going anywhere in life, or they're upset or resentful, their lives will be shaped up, because I don't even know if I would call it a universal principle. I know spiritually speaking, we know that things that happen in the spiritual realm happen in the natural. So there's a lot of shaking up that happens because it's trying to get a reaction out of you, right? But if you don't move, like, you're gonna there's going to be a forcing of you changing. There has to be. So I actually would be very careful for people who have stayed in the same place, the same mindset, the same ideas, the same, and they refuse, or they're almost rebellious to change. You don't want to be that if you're trying to be creative, because again, creatives can take something that looks like nothing and make it into something. I mean, the ultimate creator is God. He made something out of nothing, right? We, being people who replicate that, we also can make something out of nothing. But if you don't move, your life will move you. It will
Yes.
move you. So yeah,
Yep. Yeah, and talking about moving, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Talking talking about moving, I might be wrong, but in my experience, I also had this realization that there's a right platform or a right space to be creative,
mm,
because you tend, if you decided to move, you might end up ending in a place that's not really a healthy space to be creative. I think that's another perspective that we should be. And I don't know if I'm right, but that's my experience. You
yeah,
cannot force your creativity in a space that is not open for creativity. In a set of, like what you said a while ago, in a set of people, in a group of people that's not open to creativity, because
yeah,
it's gonna kill you.
yeah,
You move, but make sure you study your movement, right?
yeah.
Study the evolution of your platform, how your environment would evolve, or how your environment would change, and make sure that you know check it. I mean, as creatives, you would know it in your heart, right? Like, you
Mm,
know, uh, it's struggle. Like, there's a verse in the Bible, when God would bless you, it will not come with any form of any struggle, right?
mm,
So part of that is on your creative execution. If you're in a space and doesn't welcome creativity, right? You should pack your bags and move elsewhere. Do you agree with that, or is that something that you
I
don't agree?
way. No, it's not that I disagree. I think you make a really good point that you can move into an unhealthy space if you move too rapidly, or if you move outside of time that you're supposed to. I agree with all that. The thing I would say I disagree, or I counter, is yes, I believe that God blesses you, and it can come with no strings attached. You don't have to do
Yeah.
anything for it. At the same time, there are times where the blessing is difficult to accept. So, for example, you can be blessed with a baby, but babies are hard. So, like, raise and deal with. I don't have any children of my own yet, but like from what I hear, it can be a really arduous process for someone to raise a child. So is that not a blessing because it's difficult? Or is it a blessing that keeps on blessing you by the growth that it provides? So I wonder if people run away from struggle, especially creatives. Let me stick with creatives. If artists and creatives run away from struggle and they only do what feels good or feels right, they may miss out on the opportunity to capture something that could catapult them. Because that wilderness season, that time where they're kind of floating around and they feel lost, they feel uncomfortable with what they're doing, that's the time that I think your integrity is built to sustain whatever creativity opens up for you later. So, in a more practical sense, if you start making paintings in your bedroom and you're like, "Oh, I'm just selling these on Etsy. No one's buying,
Yeah.
likes them." You could start there and do what you're doing. You can start with just your work and putting it out for people. And you might get some rejections and people saying, well, I don't really like this piece or what have you. But if you don't go through a process where you're not really making sales and you're not really seeing, then what motivates you to get better at your craft and keep honing and keep growing in that space of I'm not making a lot of money from these paintings. It's not
Mm.
happening. So I think what I love about that is when you do get to a place where people are buying your commission pieces for $200 a pop and they're just ready to go, you're going to remember that season and almost mark it as like an altar of this is when strife and struggle almost got the best of me. But because I persevered, now I'm seeing the fruit of that. So again, going back to YouTube, going back to creating content, it has to be a long game. If you're in this for a short term, you're going to be disappointed because it's not going to taste good in that short term. I believe that longevity, that's where that fruit feels like fruit, right? It's bearing fruit for a long term, not for just like a momentary lapse. So I halfway agree with you in that, yeah, we struggle should not be so much struggle that you're abusing yourself and
Yes.
losing sleep or you're not eating. If that's not artists, I don't condone being a starving artist or a struggling artist. Go get a job and stop playing. Like
Yeah.
but also when you go through hard times emotionally, spiritually, relationally, that can be the fodder for something that's coming later that you don't even see yet.
Yes. And we would probably need to have the same conversation like 5 years from now when you have 500,000 subscribers and
Oh my gosh, I hope that would be amazing. I don't,
I have 300,000 subscribers because I think you're gonna go bigger than me. But yeah, just kidding. It's like what you said. You don't have to covet what others have.
no,
I mean, if you have a purpose, if you have a goal, keep doing it, right? And once you reach that goal, set up another goal. That's how life works, right?
yep,
It's as simple as that. If you're not yet there, work as hard as you can until you get there. And it's about doing it right. The integrity with your craft, what you believe in, not selling out. Yeah, that's I think that's another
yeah.
term. Not to sell out, like the eating in front of the camera. But yeah, I mean, if they're enjoying it, they can keep doing that. I mean, I don't hate them for that, but
I think you,
yeah.
I think you have a little bit of resentment,
Because they have all the millions of views, like,
right,
and
for eating, and we're like, seriously,
just for eating, right? Like, what's with this world? I mean,
weird world.
that's why if you're not really grounded on a specific creative goal, purpose, you
Yeah,
can easily be swayed to that. If you're after the numbers, there's a lot of ideas, right? I
yeah,
mean, in the Philippines, there's this kid. What he does, I mean, middle age, probably teenager,
mhm.
he always looks angry in his videos, and he eats, take this glass, shreds of glass, and epoxy. Do you know epoxy? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
it's like,
like, yeah,
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 addiction to eating. That's very
yeah. And
serious.
he had like 2 million views in an hour.
Well, people like seeing chaos, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of appeal for that, but we're not. It's always about, I'm not called to do that. That's
No,
not, it's
no.
not my space.
Yeah.
I still love adding value to people who wants to learn YouTube. I mean, if I haven't done all that I've been doing, because I've been doing weekly videos for almost a year and a half now. Imagine that,
Wow.
one video per week. I
That's
should have, and I only have like 1,270, 80 subscribers.
okay.
It's worth quitting. In that scale of work, right? Because as I mentioned, there are like 10 videos going to the 50,000 subscribers already. And right now,
Right.
looking at the numbers, I'm going close to 60,000 views,
That's awesome.
right? And my hours are slowly inching towards the 4,000. I don't know why YouTube made it 4,000 hours. What is 4,000? What is 4,000 hours, right? But if I haven't done all this, and if I had quit, yeah,
Mhm.
along the way and just started eating epoxy,
Right.
I wouldn't have this chance to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
And there would be, like, let's say, a few hundred people going forward after this episode that would be really inspired, and resonate with what you just talk about, what you discuss, because there's no way that I'm gonna be able to deliver that on my own, right? That's what collaboration is all about, right? If you have the right set of questions, you get amazing feedback, like what you're just doing. This should be the Tiffany Bird Harrison show featuring a random Filipino from Singapore.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
amazing.
if we both didn't put the work, I wouldn't have also noticed your content, right? I
That's true.
wouldn't I wouldn't have that idea that, hey, she's doing amazing stuff, and I want to talk to her and just
Thank you.
let that level of amazing creativity resonate with other people, because that's like going back to originality. Like everything we're doing, we've learned this from someone else.
Right.
It's not like Tiffany woke up one day and he was like, blessed with the YouTube powers of,
I wish. Yeah.
yeah, it's like think media, right?
Yeah.
A year and a half was when I first watched Sean.
Mm.
When I first watched his two or three of his videos, the thing that he keeps talking about, start messy,
Yeah.
press record.
Yeah.
That's what I did, because that's what I can process. Although I've been behind the camera for more than 15 years now.
Wow.
And before deciding to go on YouTube, I've had projects in Europe. I visited Australia, and I was like, why did I not do video
Yeah.
content showing myself? I've been in Milan, those amazing places. Like, I
Wow.
did work, but I was not doing. I mean, I'm not in that space yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything we're doing, we learn it from people. People inspired us. That's why right now we're trying to inspire other people, right?
Yeah.
So that if you're watching this, then don't forget to shout us out on your, you know, on your videos. And I've learned, because for me, I keep talking about Sean, because Sean is really,
Yeah.
I hope he continues to, bless a lot of people, because the other thing I like about Think Media, I never saw them on any ads. You saw them do advertising, right? A lot of, like, quick rich scheme on YouTube that you see. I'm gonna teach you the secret to do YouTube and earn your first $10,000 in. But yeah, yeah, we're just toying with them, but that's the reality. Anyway, I don't want to take much of your time. I really love to extend this to a 3 hour episode. It's Sunday here, so in a few hours it's Zoom church. That's another thing. Church is already on Zoom. Yeah,
Yeah.
I miss going to the physical church. Anyway, before I let you go, I'm gonna share this, and I want you to talk about this
Okay.
on the spot, right? No, this is something that you can really, yay. Yeah. Want to talk about this amazing channel here? You wanna plug this? These are all amazing
Oh
stuff
my
here.
goodness. Yes, I would. I mean, I'd love to. This is my channel. It's my name, Tiffany Bird Harrison. You can find me honestly every single week. I'm on there Tuesdays and Fridays. My Tuesday show is called Truth Be Told, and it is a series of truth, which is 1 minute of truth, 1 minute of transparency, and 1 minute of theater. So if you're interested in that, you should definitely come and check it out. And on Fridays, I always release a video that hopefully will be value packed and give you something to think about for the rest of your weekend. So, yeah, I'm releasing twice a week, and I'm all about spiritual accountability, intentional community, and the performing arts. So, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Let's grow together.
Hey, why am I not here on your YouTube friends? You should add me here.
I'll add you now.
Just kidding. I put you on the spot there.
Yeah, I definitely have to add you on here. I haven't even gone through here and done anything to really work it out, but yeah.
I'm using a different channel here. So I haven't subscribed. This is actually an org channel that I have. So yeah.
You haven't subscribed.
And, but I already subscribed to you on my other channel. I'm not the only one handling this. But yeah. So uh Tiffany Bird Harrison, thank you for blessing my show. Not just visiting. I'm gonna use that word because it's a blessing to have you here, not just for me, but for other creatives who get the chance to watch this. Not just Christian creatives. If you're a creative, no matter what you believe in, that creativity came from someone. And it's your personal journey to find it out one day. And we pray that that you would find it out sooner than later. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our goal. So, anything else to promote? Like any mall shows? Are you gonna have a concert on Wembley, a stand up show on Wembley
Oh
Stadium?
my God, can you imagine? You know, right? I'm trying to start stand-up shows. No, I'm actually, it's funny you say that. I'm actually on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday is the election day in the United States. So that will be a time. So I'm doing a live version of my show, Truth Be Told, that I talked about a minute ago. I'm going to do the first 30 minutes with my mom. We're going to talk about truth and just what the truth is from this election. I'm going to have the second 30 minutes with a fellow creative named Kylie Joe Smith, and she's a singer and artist and really just an awesome woman. So we're going to talk about transparency and where we are. And then the last part is with my friend Chris, who you saw, Robert, in the video, Are Christians Hateful? And Chrissy Lewis will be coming up the last 30 minutes just to talk through his poem, which is called I Am Politically Homeless, and he'll be promoting that. So we're just going to have a time. It'll just be kind of an open house live stream for people to pop in and get some hope injected into their day, and then go off to where they came. So that's
What
actually
time? What time is that?
that is going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the States. So that is, let's see,
6
that
a.m.
Wednesday. Yeah, I was going to say it's going to be 6 a.m. your time. Sorry. So if you're up early, come. We'll have
I'm
an hour and a half, so we'll have a good time.
I'm gonna probably wake up 5 a.m. then jog so that I will be awake on your 6 a.m. episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that out. So, and I won't be as smooth as you are, Robert, with the StreamYard. I'm gonna try.
Yo, no, I'm not smooth. I'm rough. I'm a rough star. I call myself a rough star, not a rock star.
Thank you for
Yeah,
allowing me to be here. I mean, this is a blast. You had awesome questions, and I love talking to you. So we'll have to do this again.
yeah. After 5 years, 500,000 viewers. Yeah, like hey, we were talking about this is for the long game, right? And
Right.
we still have 1,000 viewers now. And we're still doing this. Yay! Praise God. Yeah, and everything give thanks, right? Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take you out of the broadcast, but don't leave yet. Okay, but just gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna talk to you for a minute before I let you go. Okay, just gonna close the episode. Wait for me in a bit. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Thank you guys for watching. Those who stayed up to the end and watched the episode, I hope you've learned a lot from what me and Tiffany discussed. It's gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna put in a lot of hard work on this episode and cut it to small pieces. So you would probably expect it to pop up on my YouTube like in soundbite version. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next live stream with my next guest, whoever that is. I'm gonna still hunt for the next guest. And thank you for Tiffany, and I hope you would support her channel as well, especially if you're a Christian creative. If you're creative in the journey of discovering your craft and being in a position of influence using your creativity, check out her channel. I mean, it's on the link on the description of this video. So thank you guys for watching. See you again